This video is called Combining Brainless and Brain Required, the only efficient way of multitasking. So for everyone who knows me personally, you all probably know already that I'm not a big fan of multitasking because we could actually see multitasking as some kind of sickness because our world changed in a way that we are often forced to actually do multitasking. So for example, we are sitting on the phone and someone tells us something we have to write down, then we are talking to that person on the phone at the same time we are writing things down. So for example, when we talk to someone, let's say at the state government, and we want to know a couple of things, and that person tells us these things, then of course we also want to write them down. So the person tells us the things and we are writing them down, and what we're actually doing is we are multitasking. This is nothing that is natural. So in the past, actually people did something or they did the other thing. But now they're basically doing the same thing or two things at the same time. So now let us start here with this video by actually defining first of all what brainless tasks are. So brainless tasks, as you can already imagine, you don't need a lot of brain in order to do them. So for example, that could be checking boxes, that could be signing documents, whether for example it is a document about your health or about some kind of deliveries or something like that. And then we got liking posts on Facebook if you're, let's say, an influencer, and sometimes you just like through the post because you want other people to recognize you, or things like cooking coffee. Cooking coffee is not too difficult. It doesn't require a lot of brain. So these tasks can be done very easily and very, very quickly. And again, they don't require too much brain. There is not too much brain power needed here. And then we got the brain required tasks. So that could be, for example, talking with someone on the phone, for example, whether it's a client or your family or someone that is really important or someone that wants to do an interview with you or something like that. These people will actually determine whether you will be focused or not. For example, when it's an interview, you're probably focused. You don't want to say anything that is stupid, and that's why this is a brain required tasks. The same thing also applies to coming up with new business ideas. When you want to come up with new ideas, then your brain is working very, very quickly and tries to come up with new things that could be revolutionary, that could make you some money, and also your subconsciousness is working very quickly because you're basically, having so many new impulses coming into your brain that your subconscious is active at the same time, wanting to restore and store the things that come through the impulses. Then also things like creating designs. It requires a lot of brain. You have to come up with ideas first of all, then you have to match, for example, the font to the logo if you create a logo design, or the font to the poster, to the banner, to the billboard. It doesn't really matter. You're using your brain quite a lot and you're thinking about it heavily. So now let us talk about matching brainless with brain required tasks. So actually I already got a couple of tasks which are brainless here, and I got a couple of tasks which are brain required, and now we want to connect them. So for example, the first one, phone calls and cooking coffee. Actually, a thing that I like to do quite a lot. I sit down, I have my phone calls, and I think, well, I could also do something else. And I get up and I go to the coffee machine, I make a couple of coffees, for example, for my employees or for myself, and at the same time I have phone calls. Sometimes they are very important, then of course I sit down and don't go to the coffee machine, but if they're not that important, I go to the coffee machine and I make a couple of coffees. So that is basically connecting a brainless task with a brain required tasks. So then coming up with new business ideas and signing contracts. Same thing here. Coming up with new business ideas is a brain required task, and signing contracts is rather a brainless task. Because signing contracts doesn't really use any of your brain power, you're basically just moving the pen in the same way every single time, every single time, every single time. So that happens quite often when I actually get my clients, the clients' contracts, and I have to sign the client contracts. Then I'm signing them like very, very quickly. And at the same time, I'm thinking about things. Sometimes I'm looking at the same time at the computer. I just check that I write the signature on the right line, and then that's basically it. So in the end, multitasking is not good for your brain if you connect like difficult tasks with each other that are both like brain required. But if you connect, for example, a task that is brainless kind of, that doesn't use too much brain power, with a task that is brain required or that requires brain, then this is a good thing. Then multitasking is definitely a good thing. Because what has also been proven by science is that your neurons will actually react, of course, to multitasking. But they react positive in a way when you connect a task that is actually brain required with a task that is, well, not really requiring a brain, that is brainless, then your neurons will actually influence in a positive way. But when you do two difficult tasks at the same time that both require a lot of brain power, then you're doing harm to your neurons. So again, multitasking is something new in the evolution. It is nothing that came around a couple thousand years ago. It is something that came around the corner just a couple of years ago. And I don't even mean a couple of hundred years, actually just a couple of years ago, let's say like 40 years ago. And my advice to you is just simply try to always connect a brainless with a brain required task, because then you can save the time that you would use on the brainless task when you actually do at the same time your brain required task. So that is, in my mind, how you can reach ultra or super productivity, or however you want to call it. And what you can basically do through that is get things done more quickly, save more time, thus become more productive, increase your output. And also, for example, if you have a business, you can have more clients, you can make more money, and also just in the end, you can achieve more.